Alright, so welcome back to the channel, and in this one we're just going to discuss the sweep command in all three programs that we've been talking about. So we're going to take a look at it in AutoCAD, Inventor, and Solidworks. And what you're going to find out is that all of them are going to require the exact same thing, but they're going to do them a little bit differently. Now, I'm not going to jump between each of the programs and actually show you how to use the sweep in those. You're more than welcome to go find any of my videos where I will show you those, or take a look at the examples. I'm pretty sure I have plenty of them, but you're going to see that they work really similar. They just call things a little bit differently, or they have them inside of their commands a little bit differently. Okay? So basically what we're going to be talking about, and that's what I was telling you in the intro, is that we're going to be discussing how to create a sweep in AutoCAD, Inventor, SolidWorks. We're going to talk about the key differences between both of them, and then we're going to finish up with the best practices. Alright, so what is a sweep? Basically, we use a sweep to create something. It can be pipes, tubes, or other kind of complex shapes. Is that what you're seeing there? But it's going to require two things. Right? It's going to require some kind of profile. And when we're talking about Inventor and SolidWorks, those profiles are going to be automatically, closed, and some other things is going to happen in effect there. But when we're talking in AutoCAD, you have to make sure that it's a closed profile, right? We got to make sure that it's joined together. Remember that if you don't join them together, it's going to make surfaces. So make sure when you're using AutoCAD that you're going to select that profile once you're done and go ahead and join it, and then you're going to verify that it is joined, right? Another thing that you're going to do, or you're going to see, is that you can make kind of a complex shape, but you don't want them to self-intersect. You can make them self-intersect, like if you want to think about a donut or a ring or something of that nature, but those could be simpler to create using the revolve command. But you can create something that is a little complex. Typically with these sweeps, we don't have them self-intersecting. All right. When we're getting to the sweep command in AutoCAD, right, we're going to first create that profile, right? And remember that in AutoCAD, it's got to be super exact. So whatever you create, you're going to be creating those dimensions right off the bat. You're going to put them all together. And now you got to create them also on one plane. That is the next thing that you really need to know, is that it needs to be on one plane. Okay, it needs to be on whatever flat surface it is. Otherwise, the join won't let you work. Remember, join is a 2D command, and the only way that you're going to do that is by using that to create them together. All right, the path can be and it's typically going to be created with a polyline or a spline. All right, so you're going to have to create both of those. Now remember that profile and that path, they're going to have to be 90 degrees. And this is going to go across all of these programs, is that typically you're going to see, and especially in any of the videos that I've created, you're going to see me create that profile at a 90-degree plane of whatever that path is, right? So I'm typically going to create a profile on one plane, and then I'm going to create my path typically from the origin if you're talking SolidWorks or Inventor. But in AutoCAD, you can kind of create that path anywhere, and I'm going to kind of put it to it. Another thing that they like to see in most of these programs is that the profile is touching that path. Now, it doesn't always have to be the case, but you're going to see that's one of the things that I do. And it typically is one of those things that help alleviate any problems anytime you're using the sweep command. Now, when we're talking about doing the sweep command in Autodesk Inventor, remember that we have to select the sweep tool, right? We're going to choose the profile. We're going to choose the path. Now we do have some settings down below that we can tell it to join and cut. These are the exact same settings that you've seen when we did any kind of extrusions or revolves and things of that nature. In AutoCAD, remember, we have to use Boolean operations, our subtracts and things of that nature, in order to take away or to make certain profiles. And once again, I hate to keep saying this, but you're going to see that in the examples. All right. But here in Inventor, you're going to pick a profile and you're going to pick a path, and then you're going to decide if it's going to cut or join, right? So you're going to see that when we hit those examples. When we're talking about sweeps in SolidWorks, Remember, we're going to do the exact same thing, and all of these are going to work exactly the same. We're going to create some kind of profile. We're going to create some kind of path. And in here, the tool that we're going to be using is going to be called the sweep boss base. That's if we're creating a piece, but if we're subtracting, remember we have to use the sweep, or in this case, it's going to call, I think it's called swept cut. All right, so you're going to have to do that one and that one. Now, I'm not going to give you any examples, or I don't think I have any examples of ones that have any twist or things of that nature, but we will discuss what the merge result is in some of those examples. And the one that's right off the top of my head is that when we create a drill bit, you're going to see that there is an option to either merge or merge the results. And in SolidWorks, it's nothing more than just a checkbox. In AutoCAD, you just tell it to, not in AutoCAD, well, in AutoCAD, you're going to have to use the Boolean operation to join them together. And if you're talking Inventor, you're going to have to use the join button when you're actually in the extrude or the sweep or whichever command that you're going to be creating. All right, some of the best practices that I can kind of tell you is keep everything as simple as you can, especially when you're drawing these things in SolidWorks and Inventor. And the reason why I'm talking about both of those is because when you're usually putting dimensions on things, your sketch can go a little wild sometimes. So if you keep it simple, kind of put your dimensions, locking your constraints and putting all your dimensions and angles and things of that nature on your drawing, that tends to lock it down. So if you keep everything simple, and especially when it comes to creating those three-dimensional sketches in all of these programs, keep it as simple as you possibly can, right? Don't try to get too overly complicated. We're also going to see some helixes and things of that nature, so pay close attention to when we create those, as you're going to see that those are going to give you a kind of a different path, but those are going to be typically, you know, those are polylines. There just happen to be helixes and spirals and things of that nature, but we do have some of those complex examples if you go through and look for them. All right. If you got something that's a little bit rough, there is something, and I know especially in AutoCAD, I'll tend to use this more than I would in any other program, but there are some guide curves, and that's usually going to stiffen it up. Now, we're going to see this when we do a loft command, and the one that comes to my mind is if, I think I have an example somewhere where I did a three-dimensional C-clamp. And if you look at that one, you can see that it's going to be a little rough, but you can use some guides and things of that nature to kind of stiffen it up. And that tends to be the best way to do that. All right. I already mentioned just to make sure that the path is perpendicular to the profile. You're going to do that by default. Just make sure whenever you're creating those planes that you got that kind of stuff in mind. So all of that stuff is going to be created naturally, especially in SolidWorks and Inventor. AutoCAD, you're just going to have to use the gizmo and kind of rotate either your profile or your path to fit whatever you want. And then test the sweep operations for validity. That's going to kind of happen automatically. You will get some error messages, or it just will tell you that it won't sweep if any of that other stuff is not, kept up to par. Basically, if I have maybe my profile is not closed, it's open. If your path can be something that's kind of broken up, stuff of that nature is going to cause your sweep not to work. So always keep it simple when you come to these sweeps. Typically, we're going to do some stuff where you're going to see, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but a lot of the time in the examples, you're going to see a lot of different things. So hopefully you enjoyed the sweep command, as it is one of those easier commands, as long as you keep it easy, but you're going to see that we can draw some complex things or create some complex objects just by using that. Okay, but that's all I'm going to have for you here on discussing the sweep command. I don't want to go into it and make this video about 30 minutes long by opening up each of the programs and showing it to you, as you're going to see that if you go through the examples and things of that nature. All right, so thank you for watching this. Hopefully you enjoy using the sweep command, and remember that the examples are not only going to be sweeps, they're going to build on some of the stuff that we have already learned. So they're going to build on your extrusions and revolves and things of that nature. So don't just assume that we're going to be doing sweeps. So you can see that some of these models are getting more and more complex, and they're going to take multiple operations in order to complete them and create them, right? So once again. So just thank you for, tuning in to this video, and hopefully you enjoyed me talking about the sweep command here. And, as always, let's just go ahead and get over to some examples, and thank you for watching.